My name is Jovita Turner, and at 32, I never expected to sit alone at the Blackstone on the most important night of my career. I stared at my phone, the screen illuminating my unused table setting for 5. "You're not exactly a priority right now," my mother's text read. I ordered another glass of wine, fighting back tears as the waitstaff avoided eye contact. My promotion to Director of Financial Operations deserved celebration, but my family had other plans. If you're watching this and have ever felt invisible to the people who should care most, let me know where you're watching from. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever had your biggest moment stolen by someone else's trivial news. Growing up in suburban Illinois, I always knew my place in the family hierarchy. My parents, Barbara and Thomas Turner, made it abundantly clear that my younger brother Ryan was the golden child, despite his perpetual lack of ambition or achievement. While this might sound like typical sibling rivalry, the pattern established early in our childhood would continue well into adulthood with devastating consequences. I still remember my high school graduation. I was valedictorian, had secured a full scholarship to Northwestern University, and had been accepted into their prestigious accounting program. My parents attended the ceremony, of course, but left immediately afterward because Ryan, 4 years my junior, had a recreational soccer game. There was no celebration dinner, no acknowledgement of my achievement beyond a hurried, "Congratulations, honey," as they rushed to their car. When I arrived home later that evening, I found the house empty. They had taken Ryan for ice cream after his team lost the game. This was our family dynamic in a nutshell. My accomplishments were footnotes, while Ryan's most minor achievements were headline news. By 16, I was financially responsible for myself. I worked part-time at the local library while maintaining a perfect GPA. I bought my own clothes, paid for my own school supplies, and saved carefully for college expenses, not covered by scholarships. Meanwhile, Ryan received the latest gaming consoles, designer clothes, and eventually a car for his 16th birthday, something I never got. After high school, I thrived at Northwestern, double majoring in accounting and finance while working 20 hours a week. I graduated summa cum laude and immediately secured a position at a respected financial firm in Chicago. Ryan, in contrast, attempted college 3 times at our parents' expense, dropping out each time when coursework interfered with his social life. He cycled through jobs, retail positions, restaurant work, a brief stint at a car dealership, never lasting more than a few months at any of them. My career progressed steadily. I earned my MBA at night while working full-time, received regular promotions, and established myself as a rising talent in financial analysis. By 30, I had purchased my own condominium in Chicago, built a respectable investment portfolio, and was being groomed for leadership at my company. Ryan, at 26, still lived with our parents, working sporadically and spending lavishly whenever he had money. 3 years ago, our family faced a crisis. Dad lost his job of 25 years when his company downsized and shortly afterward required expensive surgery that their insurance only partially covered. Their savings quickly depleted, and they faced foreclosure on the home where I grew up. Without hesitation, I stepped in to help, taking over their mortgage payments of $2,800 per month. It was supposed to be temporary, just until Dad found new employment. But temporary turned into permanent as he struggled in the job market at his age. Throughout all of this, my cousin Megan remained my confidant and support system. Just 2 years older than me, Megan had witnessed the favoritism since we were children. "They take you for granted, Joe," she would tell me during our weekly coffee dates. "You know that, right? They expect everything from you and nothing from Ryan." I knew she was right, but family loyalty runs deep. As my 3rd year at the firm approached, rumors of a significant promotion began circulating. The Director of Financial Operations position was opening up, and my name was mentioned as a top contender. The position would mean a substantial salary increase, greater responsibility, and recognition of my dedication to the company. When the official announcement came, I had gotten the position, I immediately called my family. For once, I wanted celebration. I wanted acknowledgement. I wanted to be the priority. I made reservations at the Blackstone, one of Chicago's finest restaurants, for 5 people myself, my parents, Ryan, and Megan. I texted everyone the details 3 days in advance, then called to confirm. Everyone agreed to be there. Mom even said, "We wouldn't miss it for the world, sweetie." As the big day approached, I allowed myself to feel excited. Perhaps this achievement, becoming the youngest director in the company's history, would finally earn me the recognition I had always craved from my family. Perhaps this time, just this once, I would be the center of attention. I couldn't have been more wrong. I arrived at the Blackstone at 6:45 p.m. for our 7 Huzura reservation, dressed in a new black cocktail dress I had splurged on for the occasion. My hair was professionally styled, and I wore the pearl earrings Megan had given me for my 30th birthday. The restaurant exuded elegance with its crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, and attentive staff. When the hostess led me to our table, a prime spot near the window overlooking the city, I felt a surge of pride. I had come so far from the girl whose achievements were afterthoughts. At 700, I was still alone. I texted everyone. "At the restaurant, beautiful table waiting for you." My father responded with, "Running a bit late traffic." My mother sent a thumbs up emoji. Ryan and Megan didn't respond at all. I ordered a glass of champagne and told myself to be patient. By 7:30, I had finished my champagne and was checking my phone every few minutes. I sent another round of texts. Dad replied, "Still on our way." Mom texted, "Something came up with Ryan, might be a while." Megan wrote, "So sorry, Joe. Family thing. Explain later." At 7:45, the waiter approached for the third time to ask if I wanted to order. I requested another glass of champagne and asked him to give my party a little more time. He smiled sympathetically, and I felt a flush of embarrassment creeping up my neck. Being stood up on a regular evening would be bad enough, but on what should have been my celebration night, it was humiliating. At 8:00, I called my mother. The call went to voicemail. I called my father. Same result. I texted Ryan, "Are you guys coming?" No response. At 8:15, my phone pinged. It was my mother. My heart leapt, hoping for an explanation about terrible traffic or a minor emergency that was now resolved. Instead, I read the words that would fundamentally change my relationship with my family. "You're not exactly a priority right now. Ryan needs us. Maybe reschedule." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at the message, reading it over and over, wondering if there was any way to interpret it that wasn't devastating. There wasn't. In 7 words, my mother had confirmed what I had suspected my entire life: I would always come second to Ryan. The waiter approached again, and I made a decision. "I'm ready to order," I told him, my voice steadier than I expected. "My guests won't be joining me after all." I ordered the most expensive steak on the menu, truffle mashed potatoes asparagus, and a $400 bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. If I was going to be humiliated, I would at least enjoy an exceptional meal. As I ate in silence, occasionally making eye contact with other diners who glanced curiously at the woman dining alone with 4 empty chairs, I scrolled through social media to distract myself. That's when I saw it posted just minutes earlier on Megan's Instagram account, a photo of my parents, Ryan and Megan, at Lakeside Bar and Grill, a casual restaurant near my parents' home. They were smiling, raising beer glasses, and Ryan was holding up what looked like a receipt or invoice. The caption read, "Family night out for the real success story. So proud of this guy. #family first." I clicked on the image to enlarge it. The paper Ryan was holding was a receipt for a jet ski. A $14,000 jet ski, to be exact. While I sat alone at the dinner, I had planned to celebrate my career milestone. My family, including my supposedly supportive cousin, was out celebrating my brother's purchase of a recreational water vehicle. The second glass of champagne untouched until that moment went down in one swallow. I ordered another bottle of wine. By the time I finished my steak, which I barely tasted, and half the bottle, I was no longer on the verge of tears. I was furious. When the check came, $1,940, including the wine and a generous tip, I handed over my credit card without flinching. As the waiter processed my payment, he said quietly, "I hope everything is okay, miss." I smiled tightly and replied, "It will be." And in that moment, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The drive home was a blur of city lights and suppressed emotion. Tears threatened, but anger kept them at bay. 3 years. 3 years I had been paying my parents' mortgage while they continued to enable my brother. 3 years of sacrifice while Ryan lived consequence-free. 3 years of being taken for granted. No more. The realization of exactly how much I had sacrificed hit me full force as I entered my condominium that night. I went straight to my home office and pulled up my financial records. The evidence of my generosity and my family's exploitation was laid out in neat spreadsheet rows before me. 3 years ago, when Dad lost his job at Anderson Manufacturing after 25 years as a production manager, the timing couldn't have been worse. He was 58, too young for retirement benefits, but old enough to face age discrimination in hiring. Mom had always worked part-time as a receptionist at a dentist office, her income barely covering groceries and utilities. When Dad needed unexpected heart surgery just 2 months after his layoff, their health insurance, a COBRA plan they were struggling to afford, covered only 70% of the costs. I still remember the phone call. Mom sobbing on the other end of the line, telling me they were 3 months behind on their mortgage and had received a foreclosure notice. Without hesitation, I drove to their house that night with my checkbook. I wrote a check for $8,400 to cover the missed payments and late fees. Then I set up automatic payments from my account to theirs for the $2,800 monthly mortgage. Just until Dad gets back on his feet, I told them. They accepted, tearfully promising to pay me back every penny. Dad did eventually find work, but at significantly reduced pay, a night security position at a warehouse that paid just above minimum wage. Not enough to resume their mortgage payments, especially with medical bills still coming in. So my temporary assistance became permanent, though unacknowledged. Looking at my financial records that night after the restaurant debacle, the numbers were staggering. In 3 years, I had paid $100, $800 toward their mortgage. Add in the extra checks I had written when unexpected expenses arose: $3,000 for a new water heater, $4,500 when their roof needed repairs, $2,200 for property taxes they couldn't cover, and I had contributed over $110,000 to keeping my parents in their home. During those same 3 years, I had delayed my own dreams. The spreadsheets told that story too. The travel fund I had started before taking on their mortgage had barely grown. The home improvement category for renovating my outdated kitchen had been repeatedly rated for their benefit. The new car fund remained anemic, which is why I still drove my 10-year-old Honda while Ryan showed up at family gatherings in a series of leased vehicles he couldn't afford. And what had Ryan contributed during this time? Nothing. Worse than nothing, he had continued to drain our parents' resources. When he crashed his car last year, guess who paid the $1,000 insurance deductible? Not Ryan, though he was employed at the time. Our parents paid it, which meant that indirectly I paid it. The gaming computer he needed for a web design course he never completed, the weekend trips to Lake Michigan with friends, the designer clothes, all subsidized by our parents, which meant subsidized by me. I pulled up my parents' social media accounts and scrolled back through the photos of the past 3 years. There was Ryan on a ski trip last winter, a trip I wasn't invited to join. There he was showing off new golf clubs on his birthday. And most recently, there were today's posts, the celebration at Lakeside Bar and Grill, and multiple photos of the new jet ski. I did some quick research. The jet ski model Ryan had purchased, a 2024 Sea-Doo GTX Limited, retailed for $14,000 before taxes and fees. Even with financing, the monthly payments would be at least $250. Where was that money coming from when he could barely hold down a job? The answer was obvious. My parents would cover it when he inevitably failed to make payments, which meant I would cover it. Megan's warnings echoed in my mind. Just last month during our weekly coffee, she had said, "Jovita, you're not helping them by enabling this behavior. You're just making it easier for them to keep treating you like an ATM while treating Ryan like a prince." I had defended them, then making excuses about Dad's health and the job market. Now her betrayal stung even more because she had been right all along and then joined them in celebrating Ryan while abandoning me. As I stared at the numbers, something hardened inside me. This wasn't just about one missed dinner. This was about years of sacrifice that had gone unnoticed and unappreciated. This was about my family taking advantage of my success while celebrating Ryan's irresponsibility. This was about me enabling a toxic dynamic that would never change unless I changed it. I had been making these mortgage payments through automatic transfers from my account. With 3 clicks, I canceled all future payments. Then I called the mortgage company's 24-hour customer service line. I need to remove myself from any payment arrangements for account number 47829305. I told the representative. Are you currently authorized on the account, Ms. Turner? I make the payments, but the mortgage is in Thomas and Barbara Turner's names. I see. You want to discontinue third-party payments? Yes, effective immediately. That can be done. Do you want to make a final payment today? No, their last payment from me was 2 weeks ago. The next one would have been due on the 1st of next month. That will be their responsibility. Understood. Is there anything else I can help you with tonight? No, thank you. After hanging up, I felt a strange mixture of guilt and relief. 3 years of financial burden lifted, but replaced with the weight of knowing what would likely happen next. My parents might lose their home. They would certainly be angry. Family relationships might be permanently damaged. But for the first time in years, I was putting myself first, just as they had always put Ryan first. I took out a piece of paper and wrote a short note. Let him pay it. Congratulations on Ryan's jet ski. Jovita. I gathered up printouts of all the mortgage payments I had made, 36 monthly statements, and paperclipped them to the note. It was nearly midnight when I drove to my parents' suburban home 20 miles from my city apartment. The lights were still on, and I could hear laughter inside the celebration for Ryan's jet ski purchase apparently continuing into the night. I didn't knock. Instead, I taped the note and mortgage statements to their front door where they would see it first thing in the morning. As I drove back to the city, I turned off my phone. Whatever fallout was coming, it could wait until morning. I checked into a hotel downtown rather than returning to my condo where they might come looking for me. As I lay in the anonymous hotel bed, the magnitude of what I had done hit me. I had cut off my parents financially. I had potentially condemned them to foreclosure. I had certainly blown up our family dynamic. Yet despite the guilt and anxiety swirling in my mind, I slept better that night than I had in 3 years. When I turned my phone back on at 9:00 a.m. the next morning, it immediately began buzzing with notifications. 81 missed calls, 32 from Mom, 27 from Dad, 15 from Ryan, and 7 from Megan. 64 text messages and 17 voicemails. I scrolled through the texts first. From Mom, 11:42 p.m. What is this note? Call us immediately. From Dad, 11:45 p.m. Jovita, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. From Ryan, 11:50 p.m. WTF, Joe, you can't do this to them. From Mom, 12:15 a.m. Answer your phone. This is serious. From Dad, 12:30 a.m. Please be reasonable. We can discuss this like adults. From Ryan, 1:05 a.m. You're being a selfish bitch, always jealous of me. From Megan, 1:20 a.m. Joe, they're freaking out, but I get it. Call me when you're ready. The messages continued in this vein throughout the night, growing increasingly desperate as morning approached. From Mom, 6:15 a.m. The mortgage company says you've stopped payments. They won't even talk to us about it. Please call them back. From Dad, 7:30 a.m. We're coming to your place. This can't wait. I listened to the voicemails next. Mom's voice was tearful in the first few, angry in the middle ones, and back to tearful by the end. There was a misunderstanding about dinner, she claimed in one message. Ryan had a surprise and we were going to bring you there afterward. Please call us back. Dad's messages were more measured but equally desperate. Jovita, we appreciate everything you've done for us. You know we do. But cutting us off like this without warning puts us in a terrible position. The mortgage payment is due in 2 weeks. We don't have the money. Ryan's messages were predictably self-centered. You always have to make everything about you, don't you? So I bought a jet ski. Big deal. It's my money. You had no right to do this to Mom and Dad because you're jealous. Only Megan's messages offered any support. Joe, I owe you an apology. I got caught up in Ryan's excitement and didn't think about how it would look when we were supposed to be celebrating you. They're all at your condo now. I don't think you should go home until things cool down. Stay wherever you are. Call me when you're ready to talk. Taking Megan's advice, I extended my hotel stay for another night and spent the day working remotely, ignoring the continuing calls and texts. Finally, at 6:00 p.m., I texted Megan. "Are they still at my place?" She replied immediately. "They left around 2:00, said they'd come back tomorrow." "I'm going home now. I'll call you later." When I pulled into my condominium parking garage, I was relieved not to see my parents' car or Ryan's leased Audi. But as I approached my door, I saw them, all three of them, sitting on the hallway floor outside my unit. They stood as soon as they saw me. "Where have you been?" Mom demanded, her eyes red from crying. "We've been worried sick." "I needed time to think," I replied, unlocking my door. "You might as well come in since you're here." They filed in silently. In the bright light of my living room, they looked terrible. Dad haggard, Mom puffy-faced, Ryan sullen and unshaven. They sat on my sofa while I remained standing, a deliberate choice to maintain control of the situation. "You can't just stop paying our mortgage," Dad began. "We have an agreement." "We had an arrangement," I corrected. "A temporary one that became permanent without discussion. And yes, I absolutely can stop paying your mortgage. It's not my mortgage, it's yours." "But you know we can't afford it," Mom cried. "Your father only makes $13 an hour at that warehouse job. My hours at the dental office were cut back. Without your help, we'll lose the house." "That's unfortunate," I said, surprised at how calm I felt. "But it seems you can afford to celebrate Ryan's jet ski purchase." "That was different," Mom protested. "Ryan has been saving for months." I raised an eyebrow. "Saving from what income exactly?" A telling silence fell. Ryan looked at his feet. "Ryan," I said slowly, "when did you last have a job?" More silence. "He had that position at Summit Tech until March," Dad finally offered. "March, it's September now. You've been unemployed for 6 months. I asked Ryan directly. He shrugged. "The job market sucks." "Yet somehow you saved enough for a $14,000 jet ski." "I got a loan," he mumbled. "From who?" My parents exchanged glances. "You co-signed a loan for his jet ski while I was paying your mortgage." The pieces clicked together, and the audacity of it took my breath away. Unbelievable. "It wasn't that much," Mom said defensively. "Just a small loan. We thought he deserved something nice after trying so hard to find work." While I was sitting alone at the Blackstone after being told I wasn't a priority. "That was a misunderstanding," Mom insisted. "We were going to surprise you. Bring you to see Ryan's new jet ski afterward." The absurdity of this statement hung in the air. My career achievement was supposed to be celebrated by viewing my unemployed brother's new toy, even if that were true, I said carefully, "which I don't believe for a second you let me sit alone in that restaurant for hours without so much as a courtesy call." "We lost track of time," Dad admitted. "It was thoughtless and we're sorry." "Sorry enough to sell the jet ski to help pay your mortgage." "That's not fair," Ryan exploded. "It's not my fault you decided to throw a tantrum and stop helping Mom and Dad. You're punishing them because you're jealous of me." "Jealous?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Of what exactly? Your unemployment, your inability to support yourself at 28, your need to have our parents bail you out constantly. At least they love me. They actually want to spend time with me. You're just their ATM." The truth of his words stung more than I wanted to admit. But they also confirmed what I already knew. This dynamic would never change, unless I forced it to change. "You're right about one thing, Ryan. I have been their ATM, but not anymore. If they want to prioritize your jet ski over my career achievement, they can prioritize your income over mine when it comes to their mortgage too." "Please, Jovita." Mom was crying again. "We can't lose our home. Where will we go?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said, though the words cost me. "Ryan can sell his jet ski and contribute. Dad can look for better paying work. You can increase your hours at the dental office. Or you can sell the house and downsize to something you can actually afford. There are options that don't involve exploiting me. Exploiting? Dad looked genuinely shocked. We never thought of it that way. We're family. We help each other. When have you ever helped me, Dad? When has Ryan? This hasn't been mutual aid. It's been a one-way street and I'm done. So that's it. Mom stood up, anger replacing tears. After everything we've done for you, you're abandoning us when we need you most. The irony of her statement was almost comical. What exactly have you done for me lately? Mom, did you support my education? No, I worked and got scholarships. Did you help me buy my condo? No, I saved carefully for years. Did you even show up to celebrate the biggest achievement of my career? No, you went to cheer on Ryan buying a luxury item he can't afford. We're your parents. We raised you. And now I'm an adult making adult decisions about my finances, and I decide not to pay your mortgage anymore. It's that simple. They left shortly after Mom in tears, Dad looking defeated, Ryan still angry but noticeably quieter. As the door closed behind them, I felt a complex mixture of emotions, guilt certainly, but also a profound sense of liberation. For the first time in my adult life, I had stood up for myself against my family's patterns of exploitation and favoritism. An hour later, Megan arrived with takeout and wine. That was long overdue, she said after I recounted the confrontation. They're in shock now, but maybe this will finally make them see how they've been treating you. I doubt it, I replied. But at least I'm not enabling it anymore. What I didn't know then was that this confrontation was just the beginning of a long and difficult journey toward healthier family dynamics, one that would test all of us in unexpected ways. The first week after cutting off the mortgage payments passed in relative silence. I returned to work, threw myself into my new director role, and tried to ignore the gnawing worry about my parents' financial situation. My phone remained quiet, no calls or texts from family. I assumed they were regrouping, planning their next attempt to restore the status quo. I was right. 8 days after our confrontation, the communications began again. First came a text from Mom. We received a late notice from the mortgage company. Please reconsider Jovita. I didn't respond. 2 days later, Dad called. When I didn't answer, he left a voicemail. Jovita, we're looking into our options like you suggested, but we need more time. Could you cover just one more month while we figure things out? I didn't call back. Then came the Flying Monkeys family members and family friends calling to tell me how disappointed they were in my abandonment of my parents. Aunt Linda called to remind me, family comes first. Uncle Paul texted that I was being heartless. My parents' longtime neighbor, Mrs. Kapowski, left a message saying, "Your parents are devastated, dear. Surely there's a better way to handle family disagreements." It became clear that my parents were telling a very selective version of the story, one that left out 3 years of mortgage payments, the promotion dinner debacle, and Ryan's jet ski purchase. I didn't bother correcting the narrative. Those who knew me well would reserve judgment. Those who didn't weren't worth the effort of explanation. Through it all, Megan kept me updated on the family situation. Ryan's still refusing to sell the jet ski, she reported during one of our coffee dates. Says it's not his responsibility to fix their financial problems. The irony is completely lost on him. And my parents. Your dad is actually applying for better jobs. I think this might have been the wake-up call he needed. Your mom is still in denial, though. Keeps saying you'll come around eventually. I had started seeing a therapist, Dr. Eleanor Wells, to help process my feelings about the situation. In our second session, she asked a question that stopped me cold. What would you have done with that $100,000 if you hadn't been paying your parents' mortgage? I had no immediate answer. I'd been so focused on their needs for so long that I had stopped considering my own dreams beyond basic career advancement. The question sparked a painful realization I had been putting my life on hold in ways I hadn't even recognized. That weekend, I made an appointment with a financial advisor, Marcus Jenkins. I brought all my financial records, including documentation of the money I'd given my family, Ms. Turner, Marcus said, after reviewing everything. Do you realize that the amount you've contributed to your parents' household over the past 3 years would have been enough for a down payment on a luxury condo in downtown Chicago? or funded an extensive world tour, or significantly boosted your retirement savings. Put in those terms, the magnitude of my sacrifice and my family's exploitation became even clearer. Marcus helped me develop a proper financial plan that prioritized my needs and goals, maxing out retirement contributions, creating a robust emergency fund setting, aside money for the kitchen renovation I'd been postponing, and even establishing a travel fund for the trips I'd been denying myself. As we wrapped up our meeting, Marcus said something that stayed with me. Family support is admirable, Ms. Turner, but it should be a two-way street, and it should never come at the expense of your own financial well-being. 3 weeks after cutting off payments, I received a text from Dad asking if we could meet to discuss options. I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. When we met, I was surprised to find him alone. No Mom, no Ryan. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he admitted. "She still thinks you'll change your mind if she applies enough pressure, but I'm starting to see things differently." He explained that he'd secured a better job as an operations supervisor at a manufacturing plant, not the salary he used to make, but significantly better than the warehouse position. He was also exploring the possibility of downsizing. "The house is too big for just us anyway," he said. "Ryan should have moved out years ago. Maybe this is the push he needs." "And what about the jet ski?" I asked. Dad sighed. "He still won't sell it. Says it's the only thing that makes him happy. Your mother backs him up on this, of course." "Of course," I echoed. "I can't pretend to understand everything from your perspective, Jovita, but I am starting to see that we've been unfair to you, taking your help for granted while continuing to indulge Ryan." He looked genuinely remorseful. "I don't know how to fix that relationship, but I would like to try." It was a start, one family member beginning to recognize the dysfunctional patterns. But as Dad admitted himself, there was still a long way to go with Mom and Ryan. The second mortgage late notice arrived at my parents' house a week later. Megan reported that Mom had called a family meeting, minus me of course, to discuss the crisis. Ryan had finally agreed to contribute something, though not by selling the jet ski. He'd take on food delivery gigs to make some quick cash. Mom had asked for more hours at the dental office, and they were considering listing the house, though Mom was still hoping I would come to my senses before it came to that. Meanwhile, I was rediscovering parts of myself that had been submerged under family obligation. I joined a book club. I signed up for gourmet cooking classes. I reconnected with college friends I'd lost touch with due to working constant overtime to afford my parents' mortgage on top of my own expenses. I even began cautiously dating again, meeting Daniel, a software engineer who appreciated my ambition and listened attentively when I spoke about my career goals. My promotion was officially announced to the company, and my colleagues organized a celebration lunch that meant more to me than any family recognition would have. These people valued my professional accomplishments without expecting financial support in return. The contrast with my family dynamics was stark and illuminating. Throughout this period, I maintained minimal contact with my parents and none with Ryan. The distance gave me clarity. I was not, as I had feared in weaker moments, a heartless daughter abandoning her family in their time of need. I was a woman who had given generously for years, only to be taken for granted and disrespected. My withdrawal of financial support was not punishment. It was the establishment of healthy boundaries that were long overdue. 6 weeks after our confrontation, Dad called to tell me they had accepted an offer on the house. "It's a nice young couple with a baby on the way," he said. "They love the place. We're closing in 30 days and moving to a 2-bedroom condo closer to my new job." "What about Ryan?" I couldn't help asking. "He's found a roommate situation. Not happy about it, but he doesn't have much choice. The jet ski is in storage. He still refuses to sell it, but at least he's making the payments himself now that he's working again." It was the beginning of a new family configuration, one in which my parents were taking responsibility for their finances. Ryan was facing the consequences of his choices, and I was no longer the family bank. The road ahead would still be rocky, with relapses into old patterns and painful confrontations yet to come. But that first step, the note taped to their door on the night of my abandoned celebration dinner, had set us all on a path toward healthier relationships and personal growth that would have been impossible had I continued enabling the dysfunctional status quo. As the months passed, the changes in my family dynamic continued to evolve. My parents moved into their new condo, a modest but pleasant two-bedroom unit in a development with lower maintenance costs and property taxes than their former house. Dad settled into his new job, and Mom increased her hours at the dental office. The financial pressure eased somewhat as they adjusted to living within their actual means for the first time in years. Ryan struggled more with the transition. His roommate situation lasted just 2 months before conflicts arose over his messiness and erratic contribution to expenses. He bounced to another shared apartment, then briefly stayed on my parents' sofa while looking for yet another place. The jet ski payments became problematic as winter approached, and his food delivery work slowed down. Still, he clung to it as a symbol of his independence and leisure, his entitlement still firmly intact despite the family's changed circumstances. I established clear boundaries around my time and resources. When I did agree to family gatherings, I arrived and left on my own schedule. I declined requests for small loans or just until payday assistance. I redirected conversations when they veered toward financial complaints or hints about my fortunate position. These boundaries were met with various reactions: resentment from Mom, grudging respect from Dad, open hostility from Ryan. Christmas presented the first major test of our new family configuration. In previous years, I had funded lavish gifts for everyone while receiving token presents in return. This year, I suggested a modest gift exchange with a $50 limit per person. "We're not in a position to do much this year," Mom complained during the planning call. "It hardly seems fair when you're doing so well." "Life isn't fair, Mom," I replied, the irony of her complaint not lost on me after years of favoritism toward Ryan. "The gift exchange is optional. We can skip presents altogether if that's better for everyone." We ended up proceeding with the $50 limit. On Christmas Eve at their condo, the atmosphere was tense but manageable. Ryan made several passive-aggressive comments about my big promotion and fancy director job. Mom oscillated between forced cheerfulness and martyred sighs. Dad seemed genuinely pleased just to have the family together without open warfare. The evening ended earlier than in previous years, but without major incidents. In January, I reached a milestone at work. My department exceeded quarterly projections by 18% under my leadership. The company recognized this achievement with a substantial bonus. After updating my financial plan with Marcus, I allocated most of it to investments, but set aside a portion for a solo trip to Italy, a dream I had deferred for years while supporting my family. When Megan heard about my travel plans, she was enthusiastically supportive. "It's about time you did something just for you," she exclaimed. We had repaired our relationship in the months following the promotion dinner incident. She had apologized sincerely for her role in the betrayal, explaining that she had been put on the spot by my parents and hadn't known how to refuse without creating more family tension. I understood her position, though it had taken time to fully trust her again. My trip was scheduled for April, 10 days, exploring Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. When my parents learned of my plans through Megan, their reactions were predictably self-referential. "Must be nice to take expensive vacations while your family struggles," Mom texted. I didn't respond. In February, the family dynamics shifted again when Ryan finally sold the jet ski after falling 3 months behind on payments. The sale didn't cover the entire loan balance, leaving him with debt, but at least stopping the monthly hemorrhage of money. This financial reality check seemed to catalyze something in him. He applied for a position at a cell phone store, showed up consistently for work, and even enrolled in community college courses in business administration. Seeing Ryan take steps toward responsibility, I cautiously agreed to meet him for coffee. It was our first one-on-one interaction since the promotion dinner fallout. "I still think you were harsh with Mom and Dad," he said after we had exchanged awkward greetings. "But I get it a little more now. Having to pay all my own bills sucks." Coming from Ryan, this qualified as a major insight. "Welcome to adulting," I replied. "The rest of us have been doing it for years." He shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, well, I guess I didn't realize how much they were helping me, or how much you were helping them. They sheltered you from financial reality, and I enabled all of it by covering the mortgage." "Why did you do it for so long?" He asked, genuine curiosity in his expression. Because they're our parents. Because I thought it was temporary. Because I kept hoping that if I helped enough, sacrificed enough, they would finally see me. Really see me and value what I contribute. The honesty of my answer surprised even me. Ryan was quiet for a moment. I never thought about how it felt from your side. Mom and Dad always made it seem like you had it all together, like you were fine. I managed, but that doesn't mean it was fair or right. That conversation marked a subtle shift in my relationship with Ryan. The change wasn't dramatic, he didn't suddenly mature into a responsible adult overnight. But there was a new awareness between us, a crack in the lifelong pattern of golden child and scapegoat roles. March brought another family development when Dad suffered a minor health scare, elevated blood pressure, that sent him to the emergency room after he experienced dizziness at work. It wasn't serious, but it rattled everyone. Mom called me in tears, and I went to the hospital immediately. As we sat in the waiting room while Dad underwent tests, Mom said something unexpected. He's been working so hard since we moved, trying to make up for everything, for taking your help for granted all those years. It was the first acknowledgement from her that they had exploited my generosity. I didn't know how to respond, so I simply nodded. I was angry at you for cutting us off, she continued. I thought you were being cruel, but Thomas says it was the wake-up call we needed, that we had become dependent in an unhealthy way. It wasn't an easy decision, I admitted. I know that now. She hesitated. I also know we missed your dinner that night. The promotion dinner. That was wrong of us. It wasn't a full apology, but from my mother, it was significant progress. Dad's tests came back clear he needed blood pressure medication and stress management, but there was no heart damage. As we prepared to take him home, he squeezed my hand and said, "Thank you for coming, Joe. It means a lot." Of course I came. You're my dad. Even after everything? Even after everything. As April approached and my trip to Italy drew near, I received an unexpected invitation. My parents asked me to come to dinner at their condo, just the three of us, no Ryan. When I arrived, I found them nervous but determined. Mom had prepared my favorite meal from childhood pot roast with root vegetables, and Dad had bought a bottle of champagne. We wanted to do this before your trip, Mom explained as we sat down to eat. To celebrate your promotion properly. We know it's very late, but better late than never. We're proud of you, Jovita, Dad added. Truly proud. Not just of your career success, but of how you've handled everything with us. It can't have been easy to stand up to your family the way you did. It wasn't, I admitted. We didn't see it then, Mom said. But you were right to stop the payments. We had become entitled to your help without appreciating what it cost you. She paused, visibly struggling. I'm sorry for the text I sent that night. You've always been a priority to me, to us. I just got caught up in prioritizing Ryan. I finished for her when she trailed off. She nodded, tears forming. It's been a pattern since you were both children. I didn't see it clearly until all this happened. How unfair it was to you. It wasn't a perfect reckoning. There were still aspects of their behavior they couldn't quite acknowledge. But it was honest, and it was a beginning. We talked more openly that night than we had in years about old hurts and new boundaries, about expectations and realities, about moving forward as a family with healthier patterns. As I prepared for my trip to Italy the following week, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. The burden I had carried, not just the financial obligation of the mortgage payments, but the emotional weight of never being enough, never being seen, had begun to lift. I wasn't naive enough to think all our family issues were resolved, but something fundamental had shifted. I traveled through Italy with open eyes and an open heart, experiencing the art, architecture, food, and culture I'd dreamed of for so long. I sent postcards to my parents from each city. In Florence, I found myself thinking about Ryan and impulsively bought him a small leather journal with his initials embossed on the cover. It was a peace offering of sorts, an acknowledgement that he too was trying to change, however imperfectly. When I returned home in late April, bronzed by the Italian sun and refreshed in spirit, I found an invitation waiting in my mailbox. It was from my parents, a formal card inviting me to a dinner at the Blackstone, the very restaurant where I'd sat alone on my promotion night. The invitation read, "To celebrate our daughter Jovita Turner, Director of Financial Operations, and the strongest woman we know. Please join us to honor her achievements and our newfound appreciation for her place in our lives." The date was exactly 6 months after the original promotion dinner. A deliberate choice, I was certain. A chance to rewrite that painful evening with a new ending. And this time, when I arrived at the Blackstone, my family was already there waiting. Mom, Dad, Ryan, and Megan all dressed up and smiling genuinely as I approached the table. "Congratulations, Director Turner," Dad said, standing to hug me. "We're so proud of you." And this time I believed him. It's been 1 year since that night at the Blackstone when my mother's text message changed everything. 1 year of difficult conversations, painful realizations, and slow healing. 1 year of rediscovering my worth beyond what I could provide financially to my family. My parents have settled comfortably into their condo life. Dad's blood pressure is under control, and he actually enjoys his new job more than the old one. He lost it has better hours and less physical strain. Mom has become the office manager at the dental practice where she once worked part-time, a promotion that came with benefits and a substantial pay raise. They live modestly but sustainably within their means. Ryan has surprised us all by maintaining his job at the cell phone store for 9 consecutive months, a personal record. He completed a certificate program in sales and marketing at the community college and is talking about pursuing an associate's degree. He still struggles with financial responsibility and has occasional entitlement flare-ups, but the changes are notable and encouraging. We meet for coffee once a month, not always comfortably, but with growing mutual respect. As for me, I've continued to thrive in my director position. My department consistently exceeds targets, and there are whispers about a potential VP opening next year. I completed the renovation on my kitchen, a beautiful space with quartz countertops and stainless appliances that I love cooking in. I've been dating Daniel for 6 months now, and it's the healthiest relationship I've ever had. He celebrates my successes without jealousy and respects my boundaries without question. Perhaps the most significant change has been internal. I've created what my therapist, Dr. Wells, calls a worth journal. A place where I document my value beyond financial contributions. It includes professional accomplishments, personal growth milestones, moments of joy, and reminders of my inherent worth as a human being, separate from what I can do for others. The practice has been transformative, helping me recognize when I slip into old patterns of seeking validation through sacrifice. Last month, Mom and I had a conversation that would have been impossible a year ago. We were having lunch at a cafe near her condo when she said, "I've been thinking about all the times I put Ryan's needs before yours, all the soccer games and band recitals we attended while missing your academic achievements, all the birthday gifts we lavished on him while giving you practical items, all the excuses we made for his failures while taking your successes for granted." I waited, unsure where she was going with this unusually forthright acknowledgement. "I want you to know I see it now," she continued. "I see how unfair it was, how much it must have hurt you. And I'm truly sorry, Jovita, not just for the promotion dinner, but for a lifetime of making you feel second best when you were actually our family's greatest blessing." The words I had longed to hear for decades brought unexpected tears. Why did you do it? I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Why was Ryan always the priority? She thought carefully before answering. He seemed to need more. You were always so capable, so self-sufficient. He struggled with everything: school, friendships, confidence. It became a pattern we couldn't see because we were in the middle of it. The more you achieved on your own, the more we focused on helping him catch up. The more he faltered, the more we rushed to cushion his falls, while letting me fall alone. Yes, she admitted. And that was wrong. We should have celebrated your strength instead of taking it for granted. We should have let Ryan face consequences instead of protecting him from them. We failed you both in different ways. It wasn't a perfect explanation, and it didn't erase the pain of those years. But it was honest, and it helped me understand that the dynamic hadn't been about loving Ryan more. It had been about misguided parenting and unconscious patterns that hurt all of us in different ways. 2 weeks ago, my company held its annual award ceremony. For the first time, my parents attended as my guests. They listened attentively as my achievements were highlighted, applauded enthusiastically when I received recognition for my department's performance, and introduced themselves proudly to my colleagues as Jovita's parents. It was a small thing perhaps, but deeply meaningful. Today, as I reflect on this journey, I realize that the most valuable thing I gained when I stopped paying my parents' mortgage wasn't the money saved or even the boundaries established. It was the opportunity for all of us to develop healthier relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. The path has been painful at times, but ultimately healing. My cousin Megan put it best during our coffee date last week. "You know what's amazing, Joe? A year ago, you were covering their mortgage but invisible to them. Now you're not giving them a dime, but they finally see you." She was right. It took canceling those payments for my family to recognize my true value. It took the note on their door, "Let him pay it," for them to understand that love shouldn't require financial sacrifice. It took 81 missed calls for them to realize they couldn't take me for granted anymore. I've learned that enabling isn't helping, that self-care isn't selfish, that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for people you love is to let them face the consequences of their actions. And most importantly, I've learned that my worth isn't determined by what I can give to others, but by who I am as a person, flaws, strengths, boundaries, and all. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? What was that experience like for you? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more stories about finding freedom through boundaries and worth through self-validation. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is put yourself first.